Okay, so picture this for a second. You're standing on a terrace, the breeze is warm, smells like salt, and I don't know, a little bit of jasmine, and you're looking out at the Andaman Sea.
Sounds pretty good.
You've finally done it. You bought the dream villa in Thailand. It is absolute paradise.
It is. Until you look down at the coffee table.
Right. You look down, and suddenly paradise looks a whole lot like a trigonometry exam written in a language you don't speak.
Right.
You went in wanting a pool and a sunset, and now you're being hit with words like chenote, North Shore 3, juristic person, and sinking fund.
It's the classic bait and switch of international real estate, isn't it?
Yeah.
The dream is the view, but the thing that actually determines if you get to keep that view is all in the vocabulary.
And that is exactly why we're here today. We are doing a deep dive into the legal architecture of buying property in Thailand. We are not just looking at pretty pictures.
Yeah.
We are decoding the jargon that stands between you and, well, a secure investment.
Because if you don't get the vocabulary, you don't really get what you're buying. Or, maybe more frighteningly, what you don't own.
So to help us navigate this, we are not just, Googling things at random. We're basing today's deep dive on this massive, really comprehensive guide from Ocean Worldwide.
Okay.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Ocean Worldwide isn't some app that just popped up last week. They are a luxury real estate agency. They're based in Phuket, and they've been operating there since 2004.
Wow. 2004. In the context of Southeast Asian real estate, that's practically ancient history. That is over 2 decades of stability.
Exactly. And we're pulling insights specifically from Sandra O'Neill. She's the director of the agency. And get this, she has helped thousands, literally thousands of families and property investors navigate this exact maze over the years.
So we're looking at this through the lens of someone who knows exactly where the landmines are buried.
Because she spent 20 years helping people step around them.
The mission today, then, is to move past the brochureware. We want to give you the cheat sheet for the legal foundation of ownership. So we're going to break this down into 3 big buckets. First, the golden tickets, the actual land titles, and why GPS coordinates matter way more than you think.
Then we'll get into the foreigner's dilemma. How do you actually engineer ownership when the law says you can't own the land?
And we'll unlock the secret menu of rights there, too. Some things most buyers never even hear about.
And finally, the fine print. So the taxes, the weird math, and the contract traps that can lose you your deposit.
Let's start at the very bottom, literally, the land itself.
Okay, so let's say I walk into an office in Phuket. I want to buy a plot of land, build my retirement home. What is the one word I need to hear to know I'm safe?
Chenote.
Chenote. That sounds a bit like a musical note.
Huh? Officially, it's known as the North Shore 4 but everyone in the industry just calls it the Chenote. This is the gold standard. If you are looking at a property and the agent hands you a Chenote title, your blood pressure should just immediately go down.
Why? Is it just prestige, or is there a real functional difference here?
It is entirely functional. It all comes down to precision. A Chenote title means the land has been accurately surveyed using GPS plotting relative to a national survey grid.
So there are satellites involved in this.
Exactly. The boundaries are indisputable. There are actual concrete markers in the ground-numbered posts that correspond to satellite coordinates. This makes it the easiest title to buy, to sell, to transfer, or even to use as collateral for a bank loan. It's absolute ownership.
So it's like having the deed to a house in the U.S. or the U.K. It's yours, the lines are drawn, end of story.
Precisely. But here's where it gets tricky, because not all land in Thailand has a Chenote. You might encounter something called a North Shore 3 Gore.
That sounds less definitive.
It is. A North Shore 3 Gore is a confirmed certificate of use. So it certifies that the person named has the right to use the land, and those rights have been confirmed by the land department. But, and here's the critical distinction, it lacks that precise GPS boundary demarcation.
So, how do they know where my land ends and your land begins?
It's defined relative to the neighboring plots. It's usually based on an aerial survey, not a ground-level GPS plot.
That sounds like a recipe for an argument down the line.
It can be. Boundary disputes are much more common. Hey, your fence is 2 meters onto my property. No, it's not. The aerial photo from 1995 looks like this.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Now, you can upgrade a North Shore 3 Gore to a Chenote, but it involves petitioning the land department, a new survey, notice periods for neighbors to object.
Which sounds like a pile of paperwork I definitely do not want.
And it's a risk. What if the new survey reveals the plot is actually smaller than you thought? This all connects to the bigger picture of investment security. Properties with a Chenote hold their value better because the tenure is guaranteed.
Right. I don't want vague boundaries. I want my fence line to be visible from space.
Then you demand a chenote. But here's a practical tip from the Ocean Worldwide team that goes beyond just the definition. Never, ever trust a photocopy.
Why? Just because it might be faked.
Fake is one risk, sure, but the bigger risk is that it's outdated. In Thailand, the land title is the registry. If I take out a mortgage on my land, it is physically stamped on the back of the original deed.
Oh, wow.
If I lease it to someone for 30 years, it's stamped on the back. If I sold it yesterday, the original is gone.
So a photocopy from last week might show a clean title, but the original at the land office could show a massive lien on it.
Precisely. And Sandra O'Neill's team emphasizes this constantly. Your lawyer needs to take the title deed number to the land office and verify the original file. It's a title search, but it has to be done physically. You cannot skip this step.
Okay, rule number 1. Demand the chenote, verify the original. Got it. Now let's pivot to the elephant in the room. The question everyone asks, I'm a foreigner, I have money, can I just buy a house in Phuket?
But the short answer is yes. But the how is complicated.
Okay, let's start with easy mode. Condos.
Right. The Thai Condominium Act is the friendliest piece of legislation for foreigners. It allows you to own a condo unit 100% outright in your own name. Freehold. Just like owning an apartment in New York or London.
But I've heard there's a quota, right?
The 49% rule. In any single condo building, the total floor area owned by foreigners cannot exceed 49%. The remaining 51% has to be owned by Thai nationals or Thai companies.
So if I find a building I love, but the foreign quota is full, I'm out of luck for the freehold.
For the freehold title, yes. You would have to buy a leasehold unit in that same building, so you'd technically be in the 51% Thai side, but leasing it.
Does that affect the value?
Oh, absolutely. Foreign freehold units typically command a premium price, and they resell much faster because the ownership is absolute. But if you do get a freehold unit, there's a very specific hoop you have to jump through with the money. This is where people get tripped up.
Is this the FE2 form?
Yes. The Foreign Exchange Transaction Form. This is crucial. To register a foreign freehold condo, you must prove to the land department that the funds you used to buy it came from outside Thailand in a foreign currency.
So I can't just use cash I have sitting in a Thai bank account from, say, my job there.
Not generally, no.
Mm-hmm.
The standard path is you transfer dollars or euros or pounds into Thailand specifically for the purchase. The receiving bank issues the FET form. You hand that form to the land office.
No form, no transfer of ownership.
No form, no transfer. It's an anti-money laundering thing. But practically, it means you need a pristine paper trail for every single cent.
Okay, so condos are manageable. But let's say I don't want neighbors above and below me. I want a villa. I want a garden. I want to own the actual dirt.
Now we enter hard mode. Generally speaking, under the land code, foreigners are strictly forbidden from owning land in Thailand.
No exceptions at all.
There are tiny, incredibly rare exceptions, like investing 40 million baht in government bonds or getting special privileges.
Yeah.
But for the average person buying a holiday home, no. You cannot own the land.
So how are all those foreigners I see in Phuket with these huge villas? Are they all breaking the law?
No, they're structuring around it. And the most common method is leasehold.
Which, I mean, that's just renting, isn't it?
In a legal sense, yes, but it's a registered rent. You sign a long-term lease, usually for 30 years. This lease is registered against the land title at a land office, so it gives you a guaranteed legal right to occupy the land.
30 years isn't forever, though. If I'm 40, I'll be 70 when it runs out.
That is the friction point. Most contracts will include renewal clauses, often a 30 plus 30 plus 30 structure. So you're promised 90 years total.
But is that promise actually worth anything?
That is the million-dollar question. Under current Thai law, the only guaranteed registered term is that first 30 years. The renewals are just contractual promises between you and the landowner. They aren't automatically registered on the title deed.
Which feels precarious.
It's a risk profile you have to accept. But, for many people, 30 years is plenty for a lifestyle investment or a retirement home.
I have to ask about the workaround everyone whispers about, the nominee situation, where I pay a Thai person or set up a Thai company that I control to buy the land for me.
Okay, I cannot stress this enough. And the Ocean Worldwide Guide is bold text explicit on this. Do not do this.
Why not? If everyone does it, isn't it safe?
Everyone doesn't do it anymore because the government is actively policing it. Using a Thai nominee, someone who has no real financial interest in the property and is just holding it for you is illegal.
How do they catch you?
They look at the money. If a Thai shareholder in your company is, say, a maid or a gardener, someone with no tax history of having 10 million baht, the land office will investigate the source of the funds.
And if you get caught?
Fines, potential imprisonment, and the land can be forced to be sold. It's a legal minefield. Sandra O'Neill and her team have seen people lose everything trying to be clever. Just stick to the legal methods.
Okay, loud and clear. Avoid nominees. But the leasehold thing still feels like I'm just a tenant. Is there a middle ground? A way to have more security without breaking the law?
This is where we get into what I call the secret value. There are these rights in the Thai civil and commercial code that a lot of buyers just overlook. You can layer them on top of a lease to create a much stronger bundle of rights.
Tell me about the secret menu.
First item is superficies.
Superficies?
A superficies basically separates the ownership of the land from the ownership of the things on the land.
Wait, so I can own the house, but not the grass it's sitting on?
Exactly. You lease the land for 30 years, but you register a superficies, which grants you freehold ownership of the villa structure itself.
Why is that better than just leasing the whole thing?
Because the house is now a physical asset that you own. It's transferable. If you want to sell the villa, you're selling a building you own, and then you assign the land lease. It gives you a much stronger foothold.
That makes sense. It anchors you there. What else is on the menu?
Usufruct.
I feel like these terms are from, like, the 1800s.
They're ancient legal concepts. Usufruct is the right to use and to profit from a property. It's often granted for a lifetime, not just 30 years.
So if I have a usufruct, I can live there until I die.
Yes. And you can rent it out and keep the rent. The key limitation, though, is that a usufruct usually expires upon your death. It's not inheritable.
So it's great for my retirement security, but terrible for leaving an inheritance to my kids.
Correct. If you want to leave wealth, usufruct isn't the tool. But if you just want to make sure nobody can kick you out when you're 85, it's very powerful.
Okay, one more term in the Ocean Worldwide notes. Sapping Sith. This sounds like a Star Wars villain.
It does, but it's actually the newest option. The government realized the 30-year lease limitation was hurting investment, so they created Sapping Sith.
How is it different from a lease?
It's a registrable right up to 30 years, but unlike a standard lease, it's fully transferable without the landowner's permission, and you can use it as collateral for a mortgage.
So it treats the lease more like a physical asset.
Exactly. It solves the liquidity problem. With a standard lease, selling it usually requires the landlord to agree. With Sapping Sith, you just sell the right. It's much more flexible.
So the takeaway is you don't just buy a villa, you might lease the land, register a superficies for the house, and maybe look at Sapping Sith. You're actually engineering a solution.
Precisely. You're building a fortress of paperwork.
Speaking of paperwork, let's talk money, because the price tag on the listing is just the beginning, isn't it?
Correct. In Thailand, the transaction costs the government's cut can be significant, and they vary wildly depending on who is selling.
What's the biggest hit?
The transfer fee. It's 2% of the government's appraised value of the property. Usually it's split 50-50 between the buyer and seller, but everything is negotiable. You have to check the contract.
Okay, 2% isn't terrible.
But then you have the taxes. And this is an either scenario that catches people. You have stamp duty, which is 0.5%.
Cheap. I like that.
But if the seller is a company, or if an individual seller has owned the property for less than 5 years, stamp duty gets replaced by the specific business tax, or SBT.
And how much is that?
3.3%.
Whoa, that's a massive jump. Why the difference?
It's an anti-speculation tax. It's designed to discourage people from flipping properties. So if you're buying a brand new villa from a developer or from some guy who just bought it last year, you have to ask who is paying the SBT.
Because if the contract just says taxes shared 50-50, I could be on the hook for half of that 3.3%.
Exactly. And that adds up fast. It's details like this where having an agency like Ocean Worldwide matters. They spot that tax liability before you sign anything.
Right. And speaking of math, we have to talk about measurements. Because I was looking at listings and I saw the word rye. I assume that's not a typo.
No. Thailand has its own measurement system. You won't see acres or hectares. You'll see rai, nyan, and wa.
Help me out here. I'm still struggling with imperial versus metric.
Okay, think of it as a hierarchy. The base unit is the wa. 1 square wa is 4 square meters. So it's a small patch of ground about the size of a king-size bed.
Okay.
100 of those wa make an yan.
And a rye.
Warngan make 1 rai. So 1 rai is 1,600 square meters, or roughly 0.4 acres.
0.4 acres. So if I see a listing for a 2-ray villa, that's a pretty decent sized estate.
It is. That's nearly an acre of land. It's essential to get this in your head. or at least have a converter handy. You don't want to think you're buying a sprawling estate and end up with just an heiress.
Let's jump back to condo living for a second. If I buy into a building, what are the ongoing costs? I hear about CAM fees.
CAM stands for Common Area Maintenance. This pays for the pool guy, the security guard, the elevator, electricity, all that stuff. It's usually charged per square meter.
Fair enough.
But then you have the sinking fund.
Which sounds ominous, like a fund for when the building actually sinks.
Hopefully not. It's a reserve fund, a rainy day fund. Usually it's a one-off payment you make when you buy the condo new, and that money is only used for major capital repairs like replacing the roof.
So you don't get hit with a surprise $10,000 bill 5 years later because the lift broke.
Exactly. And managing all of this is the juristic person.
Which, again, sounds like a very specific guy named Justin.
It's not a person. The juristic person is the legal entity, the management body that runs the condo. And they are powerful. They enforce the rules, they collect the fees, they sue you if you don't pay.
So before I buy, I should probably check if the juristic person is, competent.
Crucial. A bad juristic person can ruin the value of a building by letting it fall into disrepair. Ocean Worldwide recommends always asking to see the minutes of the recent annual general meetings.
What am I looking for in there?
Drama. Or people complaining that the roof is leaking and nothing's being done, or 20% of the owners refusing to pay their CAM fees. That is a huge red flag.
That is a pro tip. Now we have to talk about the final boss of real estate, the contract.
Specifically, the language of the contract.
I assume I did a copy in English.
You will. But here is the trap. In Thailand, under Thai law, if there's any discrepancy between the English version and the Thai version of a contract, the Thai version wins. Always.
Even if I can't read it.
The court doesn't care. If the English version says developer pays all taxes and the Thai version says buyer pays all taxes, well, you're paying the taxes.
That is terrifying.
It's why you can't just skim the English translation. You need a lawyer who reads Thai to review the Thai contract to make sure it matches what you think you're signing.
Is there any protection for buyers? It feels very weighted towards the developer.
It used to be worse. But recently, the OCPB, that's the Office of the Consumer Protection Board, has stepped in, particularly for off-plan condos. They now enforce what are called controlled reservation contracts.
What does that do?
It forces developers to use a standard contract format that isn't completely one-sided. It dictates how deposits are handled, penalties for construction delays, things like that.
So if the developer is 2 years late, I actually have some recourse now.
Yes, it levels the playing field significantly. But again, this mostly applies to consumers buying from developers. If you're buying a resale villa from a private individual, it's a Wild West.
So let's zoom out. We have covered a massive amount of ground here.
We have.
We started with the dream of paradise, but we realized that to own a piece of it, you need to be a bit of a legal ninja.
We learned that the Chenote is the only title you truly want to see because it's the only one pinned down by GPS.
We learned that if you're a foreigner, you're likely looking at a condo, provided you have your FET form, or you're looking at a leasehold structure for a villa.
And we learned that the nominee route is a trap. Just don't do it.
But we also discovered that secret menu superficies, usufruct, and sapping sif, the tools that let you own the house even if you only rent the land.
And we did some Thai math to understand that 1 ray is plenty of room for a pool, but a nyan is really just a backyard.
It's a lot to take in, but it feels manageable when you break it down like this.
It is. But I want to leave you with one final thought. When you buy property in your home country, you think of it as buying a physical asset. The bricks, the mortar, the dirt.
Right. I buy the house, I get the key. Simple.
But in Thailand, as a foreigner, you have to shift your mindset.
Right.
You aren't just buying an asset, you are buying a bundle of legal rights. The value of your investment isn't just in how nice the villa looks, it's in how well that bundle of rights, the lease, the superficies, the title verification, has been structured.
That is a powerful way to look at it. The structure is the value. A beautiful villa on a vague title with a bad lease is worth basically zero. A modest villa with a Chenote and a superficies is a bankable asset.
Exactly.
Well, if you're sitting there thinking, I definitely need someone to help me bundle those rights correctly, just remember where this deep dive came from.
Ocean Worldwide.
These guys have been in Phuket since 2004. Sandra O'Neill and her team have guided thousands of people through this exact process. They aren't just selling houses, they are securing those rights for you. They know the difference between a Chenote and a photocopy.
Which is the most important part.
So if you want to find your dream villa or just want to make sure you aren't accidentally buying a Norse or 3 with a handshake, go check them out at oceanwwp.com. That's oceanww-pp.com. That's oceanw-epwp.com.
Highly recommend it.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Now go practice your Thai math
4 Ingan equals 1 Rai.
and check the original title deed. See you next time.